So I'm gonna be in charge of the meeting.
He is online. He just needs to unmute himself on his phone.
Okay, good enough. We'll recognize that. So, call the meeting to order and we'll start with the roll call.
Steve Warndall,
To be determined. He'll probably be online later, the way it sounds.
John Bonaprise,
Present.
Doug Rowdy,
Here.
Jay Luke,
Here.
Jeremy Hall.
He's on his way.
Okay. Right now we have 3 of 5.
So we're good.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Number 3 on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Madam Clerk, motion made by Supervisor Luke, approved by Doug Rowdy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried.
Aye.
Public, number 4, approval of minutes of March 4th meeting. I think I've got a copy of them here. I imagine everybody.
Um,
I can approve them.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Rowdy, seconded by Supervisor Luke. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approved, aye. Now, number 4, public comments.
Aye.
Number 5, public comments. Anybody from, I guess everybody else is gonna be on the agenda. So we'll close that. Number 6 on agenda, recept of information. I think that's just standard, don't see anything. Fair Society update, number 7, who's in charge here?
I can give an update on that one.
Yep.
Steve, if he's unmuted, but he had a meeting Thursday. Right now with the grandstand, we're currently waiting on information back from the Fair Society on locations for some drops for food trucks behind the grandstand, so we can get those on the plans. Once we have those on the plans, we should be able to move forward with getting the bids out.
So we don't have bids out yet?
We do not have bids out yet. We're waiting for those finals on the plans.
There's no, okay.
You got a timetable on that, roughly?
We should have them out within 3 weeks once we get that out, once we get that back, if not sooner.
Definitely month of April.
Could be the month of April.
We're hoping to have grandstand
No,
ready this fall or not.
no.
So
So it'll be ready for 2026.
that, I saw that in some publication. That final update on that, anything else?
That's it, sure.
Okay, thanks for that, Steve. Number 8, update from CJCC. We got somebody here on that,
Yes, right.
Mrs. Lundgren or Sis Lundgren?
Yeah, substance diversion, we currently have 2 participants with 1 new referral. Our intoxicated driver intervention program, we've got 6 participants right now with 3 new referrals. Our first time offender program, we had 5 people complete our class last month. And we got 5 new referrals for that. Treatment court, we've got 6 participants, 2 new referrals. We've got 2 that are in the works, we're working on them, and then we had 1 person that was ineligible for treatment court. And then our MRT class is started up in the jail, and we have a new referral online for those within the community who would like to be part of the MRT class. So that's available for them as well as people on probation. So that will be starting up here as soon as we have enough referrals to start class.
I think that's about the best report we've had. Thank you, thank you. You didn't even have any notes on all them numbers.
I do.
We didn't read them anyway. Well, that's a lot of progress. Got an idea when there'll be a graduation?
August or September should be our next one.
Well, hope everybody stays faithful to the improvements. Thank you for that report. Number 9, update from Public Works.
I will give you an update on, before we get into the cattail restroom discussion. Our D.D. Kennedy walking bridge went out for bid. We had 250,000 set aside for that. We received one bid for 488,000 from Larson Construction. Clam Falls, they have received one gate in, so they're there this week working. They're waiting on the remainder of the gates as well as the actuators, and they'll be hopefully finishing that up by the end of now this month. Recycling, the inside punch list is about 99% complete, and we're waiting for the outside pavement and landscaping for that project to be completed. And then the discussion regarding the cattail restrooms in Amory, I'll let Tony go into that.
Okay, so the cattail restrooms in Amy, if you recall, a few months ago, we had brought that here with the discussion of possibly permanently closing those due to the idea that they need repairs to open back up, and then the city of Amory has two newer restrooms that are within a block of the cattail trailhead. So the idea was, do we really need to fix up this restroom facility if there are two facilities nearby? However, after some further discussion with the ATV clubs and council, there is still a desire to have a restroom facility provided for that cattail trailhead. If we were to keep those closed, the council was going to put a portable toilet there. And since then, we've also looked into what it would cost for us to upgrade or to repair that and open it back up. We estimate somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000, and we could have those back opened up. Essentially, and I forgot, Claire, I do have that PowerPoint that we can bring up as well. It just shows some photos, lists some of the stuff that we would do there. So we would essentially renovate them, fix them up, paint everything, replace the toilets, the sinks, make sure everything is up to accessibility standards.
Wasn't there vandalism, and is that the main cause?
Vandalism, it sounds like vandalism has been a big issue at this location, so part of upgrading and opening these back up is we would put a security camera system on these. The city of Amory have security cameras on theirs. And in my experience, obviously with a restroom, all you can do is put cameras on the outside of the building. You can't see what happens inside, but you can see who's coming and going. But the cameras, in my experience, really act as a big deterrent to vandalism. In any place that I've ever put up security cameras where we've had an issue, just putting them up dropped the vandalism issue significantly. So you can see that's the outside of the building there. Structure itself is in good shape.
Nice building.
It's a block building. The roof is fine. But on the left there, you'll see the repairs that are needed, new toilets, and some of the other stuff I mentioned. Here's the inside. It's kind of hard to see from this point, but that sink there it's got a big crack in it. The toilets need to be replaced as well. If you go on to the next slide, you can see how the ceiling is starting to come down. Walls need to be painted. Floor we would re-epoxy that. Part of the reason I think that we're having issues with the ceiling is there's a big lack of ventilation in there, so we would look at putting some ventilation exhaust fans in there as well, as long as we're doing some work on the ceiling. So like I said, the structure of the building itself, nothing really wrong with it. The discussion point was it really necessary to keep these open if we had other facilities nearby? Sounds like there is still a desire to do so. So for between $10,000 to $15,000, we could get those fixed up, reopen them. I did check with the DNR. The repairs would be grant eligible out of our ATV maintenance funds. Talked to the council just prior to this meeting, to our ad hoc committee, and it sounds like there would maybe be some interest to them contributing as well. That would have to go to their full council, but. So I guess at this point, I think it would be staff's opinion that we should just fix them up and open them back.
I was listening to just some people's ideas, and some of them threw that around a little bit about having a work day there. They didn't know about money that was available, and And they said we could do some painting and some things. Day is that possible?
I'm sure that would be possible.
Has Doug heard anything about that?
No,
No.
I don't know because the first it's been brought up.
The clubs have been talking about work days on some of these things.
Oh.
Some-
You gotta come to a meeting, huh?
They volunteer to do most anything. so
Yeah.
I'm sure that they would.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it's just, Tony brought it up just an hour ago and then because we kind of dropped the program before when Rod brought it up, when talking about we're just gonna eliminate it. And now we're back to talking about fixing it, renovating it, so that is,
I think that's a good possibility to save some money and to get it done.
So it was closed all last summer, and with that, I mean, for the most bulk of the summer, we really didn't get much feedback. That's what we were looking for, was some feedback, whether or not there was a big desire to keep it open or not. It came mostly after the season is when the discussion really came up. So,
Well, Rick McGuigan is kind of one of the go-to people about talking about getting some people together. Appreciate that.
could I ask, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
could I ask Rod a question? It went by pretty fast. I wasn't getting it written down, but when you were talking about the Kennedy Bridge, and then what was the 250,000?
That's what we had set aside in 2019 when this project first came to be. So it's just now made it back and forth from the engineers and the DNR to get approval. Went out for bid and we received the one bid.
For 480,000?
88, yep, 488.
What's your prognosis outlook on that then? Looking for some more bids or rebidding or?
No, I think that was it. The Wheeler Bridges out of Milwaukee,
They're out of Dakotas.
Oh, okay. The office I deal with is out of Milwaukee. But they're the ones that gave the bid to Larson for that bridge. And we had sent it to several, and the engineers sent it to several different companies on their list. And that's the only bid we received.
Boy, it'd sure be nice if we could keep plugging away on advertising and get some local contractor.
That's a big bridge.
Yeah, it is.
One reason that I asked is 2 months ago at the Bone Lake Town meeting, they're talking about for the Ice Age Trail, putting a bridge over the Straight River. And they're talking about it just gonna be done tomorrow, and it's, the guys are doing that, and then what'd you say, with 5 years out?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're doubled your price.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it'll be interesting to see what happens out there.
And maybe they don't need as big a one
It
either.
could be through the Ice Age Trail that
Right.
maybe it'll just go right through.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting project. Thank you. Number 10, discussion regarding recycling charge, where we're at.
That's it. Tim, I'll give you one. So on Mr. Luke's request, we put some numbers together. Pertaining to the recycling with the charge. So you have 2 pages in front of you stapled. The first one is the recycling report with the recycling charge. And then the other one on the backside is without the charge. So the main numbers, if you look at what's projected revenue for 26, 27, and 28, we have no levy dollars budgeted at this point. And with the charge, if you go all the way to the numbers at the bottom, the cumulative balance is going to be a building balance for the, with the charge. And we'll start at the end of 2026 with an estimated $11,668. and then build that to 105,239 by the end of 27. And by the end of 28, 263,810. And then in the middle of this form, you can see everything that we're going to be purchasing with that. And no, all that dollars for the recycling charge goes against the, it'll make the recycling center self-sufficient. We'll pay for all the wages, the fringe benefits, sort, the container sort line, the baler and fiber sort lines. And so that the biggest takeaway from the green form is how much we're gonna be able to build that up, and then nothing will come out of the levy itself. So if you flip the page and then you look at what these numbers look like, if we remove the charge, everything of course goes back onto the levy. We don't have it projected up above, but down below in the red, you can see what those numbers look like without that charge. So by the end of 2028, it's, it'll be about $2 million, 2.26, if we don't have that charge, is what'll go against the levy if we keep everything in there.
I know this, you know, this is experimental really, and but, are you getting most of the questions answered? Are things coming into place pretty well?
Yes, in fact, Nick and Tina, both in the recycling chain of command are here, and kind of polled our numbers, and none of us, not one of us, have received an email or a phone call regarding this charge. And I don't know, as all supervisors, how many calls you've actually received on it. And I know Mo, I think your number was 6
I
total.
received 6 on it so far, 2 are out
How
of
many?
state, that 6.
I had one.
I had 6 on there. And as you recall, this self-sufficient fee was another budget mechanism to shift that levy to cover other costs, and primarily in law enforcement as we move forward with the budget cycle to keep the current levy flat, which when we instituted the pilot program, we passed a budget for 2025 that lowered the county levy 21 cents on 1,000. So ample opportunity to invest and put in the fee into place. And this kind of shows you as we go forward to not only levy, if we have to do equipment costs and if we don't have the special fee on there, our CIP project that now come out of our bonding, which is another hit against doing our road programs and our other ones. So this kind of makes the recycling center self-sufficient moving forward. At this time, once that fund starts to grow over several years, then it becomes a question of how much do we want in that fund and what do we do if it gets too large and outdoes itself. And at that point, that'd be the time to look at either general fund, coming back to the general fund, or lowering that special fee. With that, but we wanted to give you a shot of how that looked. I've had 6 calls on it. 2 of them were out of state that were cabin owners. They didn't need to pay for it. One was a referral down in Clear Lake where that came from Supervisor Arcant. And she had a question on her property and how it worked. And once I explained what she was getting assessed on, she was fine. The other one was a gentleman in Turtle Lake where his house is on a lot in Barron County. His garage is on a lot in Polk County. So he pays recycling fee for Barron County and he pays recycling fee for Polk County. And I just said, well, that's where your lot is, so that's where you're gonna pay. The only one that was really contested was a gentleman up in Luck. He thought that was against the Constitution and we couldn't do this, and he wasn't gonna pay it, and he essentially hung up. So that was my 6 calls on there, so.
Can you repeat what the first? Sorry, this is Jeremy Hall. Can you repeat what the first one was with the cabin owner? Did you say they're not charged?
No, they are charged. They live out of state. So they felt they didn't need to pay recycling charge due to the fact that they take all their trash and recyclables back to Minnesota.
Okay. And then, what's a cost per thousand on having it in the budget versus private fund or its own separate fund? And who regulates the fund? Does the board have any say in that, or does the internal staff pretty much run it?
The fund itself would be part of the budget process on what's coming out of the fund for capital projects versus just ordinary expense costs. The cost per thousand, the 21 cents we pass on the budget essentially would make, my math is not that bad. Approximately, if your property was worth 163,000, it would be a net zero cost to that landowner or that parcel.
So the $35 recycling charge is break even at $189,000 house? Is that what you're saying?
163 property value?
Is equivalent to a $35 fee?
Correct. I believe that's the number.
Thanks for the question, Supervisor Johnson. Is that,
The other, the other numbers I do have for you is there are 41,066 total properties in the county, and 24,070 of them receive the recycling charge. So that means the difference was ag or anything not deemed that 1, 2, or 3 category.
About 58.6%.
well, I sure appreciate, and this is the initial program, and I think you folks have done just a fantastic job of bringing this into reality, and I think it's really speaks loud for all the work you've done. One guy took me aside at the voting place, and he said he had 3 parcels, and 2 parcels were residents and 35 charge, and then he had 1 parcel where there wasn't any building, and he had a 35 charge on that. Was that an error?
It depends on the assessor assessed the property. The person in Clear Lake had a lot across the street that used to be a business that had a partial paved parking lot on it. So the assessor said that was the improvement to the lot, was the pavement. So it all depends on the assessor and what they deem as a
So that,
improvement.
the question, I'm gonna meet with him next Tuesday and have the paperwork on it. And then, so I should probably address a question to the assessor, is that?
What is the improvement for that lot?
Okay.
What the improvement is, and then, what's the actual.
Yeah.
I
I think in this case, that knowing the property, I think it's just an error. Okay, very, very good.
Any other questions pertaining to that?
Have any other, Tony Johnson?
This is Jeremy Hall.
Hear me, Hall, I'm sorry.
No, that's great. Going forward into the 2026 budget, what's the process, since this was good for 1 year, what's the process that we're gonna have going forward?
It'll be along with the budget process as we move forward, going through with general government and the departments with the discussion of having the fee continue, or if there'll be any changes with it.
Will we have any public comments specific to that or no?
We have public comment as our budget is passed.
Sure. Always do. Available, right? Yeah, public comments are always available, Jeremy.
They can speak on anything they want.
Okay, any further questions on number 10? Or we'll move on to number 11, Discussion and possible action regarding resolution 1025, resolution to relocate trail development funds.
Yes, this
Dr.
is,
Mo?
this was the resolution we discussed last meeting about, just clarifying, reallocating that money, the P-TAG money, and changing it from just trail development, new trail development to being used for development, and improvement of parks, trails and outdoor recreation facilities.
What do we need to do here?
It needs to be passed to the board with recommendation or non-recommendation.
I make a motion that we move this on to the full board, county board with
Approval?
with approval.
Second,
Madam Clerk, have we got that?
I do have that.
Now we're having discussion this second.
Discussion on the, we have a motion and second, any discussion? Anybody out there? If not, move for approval. I'll signify by saying aye.
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 I,
Thank you. Got her up to date, Madam Clerk?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Number 12, update from highway. You ready to go, chief? It's, I think you're gonna dodge a bullet tonight. I don't see no,
Hoping.
I don't see no snow.
Expecting the rain would have started by now.
I don't
Mr. Chair.
feel it, I don't feel it in my bones as usual.
Well, that's good to know.
It wasn't that hard.
Yes, at Highway, we've currently got requests for qualifications out for our County Road E and County Road T STP projects. Those are due back to Highway on April 17th, and I'll be putting those packets together for the committee members that will be scoring those applications. So when those arrive, I'll get those bundled up and get those to you gentlemen as soon as possible.
Thank
So
you.
we can get them turned around and back to Highway, and I can get that turned into the state for those projects.
Sure.
County Road T is one that, Mo had applied for that is tentatively scheduled out to 2027 for construction. And County Road E from I all the way into Lewis is tentatively scheduled for 2028 construction currently, as long as the
What
process
kind of,
moves along.
what are you gonna do to them?
Pavement replacement, reconstruction of those roads.
Total reconstruction.
Yeah,
You got a distance miles figure on those?
County Road E is just over 7 miles and County Road T is 2 point something. I'm trying to remember. It's from 8
3.
Close enough.
to Silver Lake
Yeah.
Road. We currently have our RFPs out for our paving and construction materials for the summer season. Those are due back to Highway on April 10th. Currently, we're dealing with some messy spring storms. This weekend wasn't fun with the snow and rain and ice and everything else, especially north of Highway 8. A lot of trees and limbs were down in our right of ways and on the roads north of Highway 8, so the crews have been out doing a lot of woody vegetation clearing once again. The office is currently getting our new rates entered and catching up after year-end close, so I will have an updated financial summary for you at our May meeting for the highway financial report. Work Zone Safety Week, again, that's April 21st through 25th. We appreciate the county board for supporting and passing that resolution, recognizing that week. And road restrictions are still in effect in Polk County. We are closely monitoring those roads. The frost is out of the tubes. We're waiting for things to dry up a little bit and the cracks to quit bleeding on the roads, and hopefully we can get the suspensions on the restrictions issued here.
The rain on Monday should have helped on that a little bit.
And any rain we get,
Anyway,
some warmer temps will help. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
you have any prognosis on material purchases, prices or anything?
I'm thinking they're going to, from what I've been hearing, I think the asphalt prices and stuff are gonna remain relatively close to last year's prices, which last year's prices had decreased from the previous year a
Yeah,
little. So
that'd be good news.
It would be.
Appreciate that. Anything else on highway updates? I see you're doing quite a, you must have got permission from the state or that, they're working on trees and brush and stuff on the right of ways that have got out of control last few years.
Yeah,
Did you get some update on that?
no, they just were working with us, gave us some leeway to get some of that brush and stuff addressed on the state right
You
away.
get behind on that, which we have, it's tough.
Yep.
Yeah. Number 13, Sheriff Renlock. Here's the good news.
Always April Fools, right?
Dr. Don.
Printed off some of our drug numbers for the year, the first quarter. That's coming around. If you want to take a look at that. We have a new drug investigator who's kind of in the training phase. He just completed the narcotics investigation. Also going to be going this month to Drug Endangered Children Conference. You know, when we do our narcotics enforcement, we certainly look at the impact it has on families in our county, and we're not always out there just to seize drugs. We're there to make, sometimes we call it a quality of life improvement for the places that we raid. So with that, I think we'll see numbers steadily go up too. We had, for the first quarter, 37 felony cases and 27 misdemeanor drug cases, so a total of 64 cases, which is pretty good. Methamphetamine seized is approximately a quarter pound. 113 grams is about a quarter pound of meth. Marijuana, that's approximately 4 pounds of marijuana seized. Marijuana continues to be a problem. You know, we see it in driving cases. We see it in some of the traffic crashes in our county that it is a factor. So for those that think marijuana is this harmless, you know, drug that should be legal and everywhere, it is a problem. Psilocybin, we seized a little bit of that. Fentanyl, that's the dangerous one, obviously, but we see that. Trazodone, those are pills. It's like a antidepressant type pill. Search warrants and again, 64 cases. So I can tell you our staff gets out and goes after it. You know, our canines are out there every day trying to make drug cases, and some of the limiting factors in our abilities to get out there and go after the drugs are just the call volume we handle. You know, our officers aren't just sitting there for 12 hours trying to make a drug case. Some days they might not even get any time to do drug interdiction, but we do have a staff that dedicates to working very hard at finding and seizing drugs in the county. And if you think about a quarter pound of meth off the street compared to the destruction that would do if we wouldn't have found it. So that's the way I always try to look at these things. Other than that, April's a good month for us. We have on April 13th, we celebrate the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And that's a really long sentence for, we celebrate the dispatchers, the great work they do. So, you know, we have one of the most modern state-of-the-art dispatch facilities in Polk County. We're really blessed. We got all that grant money to upfit our dispatch center, but the true success in there is the people, not the equipment. So even though we have the best equipment, I mean, we need the best people, and we're really fortunate. We have a tremendous staff over there. So for April 13th, that week, we honor the work they do. And then on April 23rd is Administrative Professionals Day. So we honor all the support staff at the sheriff's office for the great work they do. So that's what we'll be doing this month.
How are they honored?
Well, it's kind of neat in dispatch. A lot of the surrounding dispatch centers, they send gifts to all of them and they receive gifts too. And then we always try to do something special. We get a big cake and we just make it a fun week. And, you know, oftentimes I call it diabetes week because we get a lot of good treats that can seem to come in, and sugary treats. That's always a good thing.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So any questions?
I had a comment on Minnesota Public Television last night. There was a program on drugs and all that. And they had all the pictures and statistics and everything. And the drug cartels the amount of activity in Minnesota. The drug cartels have made Minnesota their number one base for activity, and it's as close to home as we can get. And I was just shocked to see what was all going on, how the powerful drug cartels have moved into
Well,
Minnesota.
yes, and when I toured the border in 2022, and the sheriff down there basically said they would rather have the drugs come further north because it's more valuable. The further north they go, they get more money, more profit.
That was the thing,
Yep.
the southern part of the United States, the drugs aren't near as valuable as they are almost double.
Yep.
So that's how they make more money on,
More profitable to have it up here than it is down on the border, which is unfortunate, but
yeah.
that keeps our staff busy and we go after it. So I'm very fortunate we have high drive people at the sheriff's office that really go after it.
That was sure eye opener to me. We sure appreciate all the work that you do and all your everything progress.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Watt. Were you able to get any of those stats, as far as appreciation?
Yes, I got them.
Good, good. Doesn't, Don, you didn't have any comments or?
Oh, sorry.
Update from Administrator Norby, number 14 on our agenda.
Yes, sir. Just a couple things here. Sales tax, in March, we're still up overall over 2024 by 5.1%. However, sales tax in March was slightly down 7% from 2024.
And February was bad.
February was down 30%. That was bad, but overall, we're still in the positive by 5.1%. So we're keeping an eye on that. Jumping on Josh's County Road, you'll notice on County Road B from 35 to Atlas, that project kicks off mid-April. So you'll start seeing activity on that stretch of road. So that project's going on.
What's the details on that?
It's pulverize and pave, asphalt replacement.
Service.
Yes. And that's all I got right now as a report.
Thank you, Administrator Norby. 15, Dr. Doug.
Yes, we had another good meeting, and they had a good discussion with Tony of moving forward for the summer. Part of it is always the washouts. And they were talking about switching from dirt to rock to fix that. And then they're working on when I say the council is working on more ATV, UTV trails throughout the county. And one of them that they have been working on for years that they're gonna make another attempt on is from Clam Falls to Indian Creek.
Yeah.
And we tried that back when Bob Kesbury, he was here and Ben was here. But there is all the lowland with the swamps up there. Maybe Mo is up there, I'm not sure. But
There's a lot of road traffic on that stretch, isn't there?
yeah, but they're gonna go through this is all gonna be off the highway.
Yeah.
But the DNR didn't like some of the swamps that they're gonna go through, so they're gonna make another attempt to. At the time, they couldn't get around these swamps, so they're gonna try and see what they can accomplish to maybe rock some of them. I've been up there for 30 years, but I'm not in the trail area. So we'll see what happens, and they're gonna make an attempt, and then I just know that area, and they were gonna work on a couple other trails, like out of Balsam Lake and around that. Hopefully they can get some more ATV trails and activity.
The Legion at Indian Creek there. People like to stop there. They're very courteous in that, yeah.
Indian Creek,
Yeah.
familiar with that one.
Yeah. I go up there with my relation up there. Well, I'm glad that I just looked in the meeting a little bit. You guys do a lot of good work and good conversation. Pretty much that's all on that, Doug.
Yes.
Number 16, discussion and possible action regarding resolution 909-25. Resolution to approve a multi-hazard mitigation plan for Polk County. Who addresses this?
Well, I guess both of us. We have to read it? I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you guys have it, right? The resolution?
I haven't.
Okay, we don't have to read it first, right? No?
No.
Okay.
Nothing.
Just give us the basics so we can act on it.
Yeah, so, Lisa McMahon, I'm the emergency manager. I think most everybody already knows me, and this is Chris Straight, and I've hired him to take on a massive task over the last year plus, to work on this plan that you guys have a copy of. And this is like one, facet of my job, which is the mitigation side. So fortunately, you haven't had to hear from me on the response or recovery side. Knock on wood, we keep that under wraps. And then mainly my job is to prepare for a disaster. But this plan is critical, and Chris is going to tell you all about it. So he'll explain how it came to be, why we have it, and what a benefit it is to us. And also I have a few pages from the plan that I printed out and gave to you, so you can see all the parties that were involved. And Chris is going to talk about it, but I really want to acknowledge this was a whole community effort. And it's taken the whole community really to help build this plan, and just an absolute mountain of work on Chris's end to do this. And he doesn't even just do mine, he does a lot of counties and has a ton of experience with this. So we have an amazing plan with tons of great information, and it's going to help guide us in the future to help prevent and mitigate emergencies. So Chris, you want to take it away?
Certainly. Do you have the PowerPoint, I guess? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Again, Chris Straight, Regional Planning Commission, West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning. This is actually Lisa's my third emergency manager for Polk County that I've worked on these plans going back to Mr. Fabrini and over the years. So getting this going up here, and then I can give you just a head nod to advance the slides. Is that okay? So get working.
Oh,
Not letting me slideshow to support this file form. Oh, I think because it's read only for me, I can't
oh dear.
actually advance the slides here.
Oh, this will work.
Yeah, we're gonna have to,
Okay.
well, we'll have to. go with-
We'll wing it.
We got the basics here, so if you can just,
Well, in a nutshell, there's the different parts of that emergency management cycle you might be aware of, and we often focus on the response, what makes the news when the police come to the scene or after the tornado strikes and we're bringing out the crews for the cleanup. There's recovery after that. And then there's the mitigation and preparedness part of the mitigation cycle, or the emergency management cycle, the stuff that Lisa's working on behind the scenes all the time. And mitigation is the trying to prevent or lessen the impacts of the hazards. Things like storm shelters, flood mitigation, that could be buyout of flood prone structures, flood elevation, flood proofing, levees, dams, floodplain zoning is a type of mitigation. Then you have preparedness, so the drills and emergency operations plans and those kind of things. So we're going to focus more on that mitigation side. And so mitigation plans, these are things I work with at my member counties, 7 member counties. Every 5 years, we update your mitigation plans. And these plans, pointer isn't going to work on that TV set, but these plans identify hazards of significant concern. So what are the risks? What are the threats to Polk County? What are the potential losses to those due to those hazards? What are the vulnerabilities if those events occur? And then what are the strategies? What are you going to do about it? Those mitigation actions. And these plans then can guide and support other plans, such as Lisa has an integrated preparedness plan or public health emergency preparedness plans. and the county comprehensive plan and things like floodplain zoning and land and water resources. We tie into all these other kinds of plans, emergency operations plans. We meet with each city and village throughout this process. You can advance. There it goes. Thank you. So to be eligible for certain FEMA mitigation grant dollars, you have to have a mitigation plan that's updated every 5 years. You also need to have this plan to be eligible for a new program called the Wisconsin Pre-Disaster Flood Resiliency Grant. County board adoption covers the county to be eligible for these grants as well as unincorporated towns, the townships. And then cities and villages individually adopt, so they can pursue these. And then this time around, we are also have invited public educational institutions to participate, so they can go after the grants. And then we also engage in the electric co-ops, so they can also pursue these dollars, because some of the electric co-ops in my region have used these grants to bury power lines in areas prone to outages. Next slide. And this is not just important for the grants. I think one of the greatest values of this is having that opportunity to sit down with the city and villages every 5 years. So what's the status of your emergency operations plan, or what is changing in your community? And otherwise, they don't many times set aside time to have those kind of conversations. And while this is a grant prerequisite, the strategies in the plans, those recommendations, those goals are your own, or they're the by the cities and villages. Therefore, they're their own recommendations, and they are discretionary. So you adopt the plan, keeps the door open for the grants, but doesn't require you to do everything that's listed in the plan. Now, we hope you do use the plan to guide some of the things like what Lisa does. Next slide. And to date, we've brought in almost $19 million in grant funds based upon having these plans. I mentioned flood mitigation, safe rooms, burying power lines. Those are our big three in terms of grant dollars. Osceola, you might remember back, 2005-ish, when that dam let out and wiped out the mobile home park a little bit. 02? Thank you, sir.
That's right, just about when I was in that mobile home park delivering on the paper route. And my car went down, the bridge went out when I went over it. And I thought I was going down in the St. Croix River, and I hung onto a pipe, brought myself back up.
Quite a drop. Anyway, these funds were used to buy out the mobile homes, and with their agreement, with their consent, and a cabin. Osceola has used the funds as well as to buy out a flood-prone structure. The big project in the county, next slide, is Luck. School district participated with the village, partnered with the village to build a new gym. And that gym serves as a safe room, a storm shelter for the entire community. It has a 1,400 person capacity. They received 2.2 million in grant funds to build that. Next slide. And so this is a picture of their new gym. So this serves as a safe room. This is built to withstand 250-mile-per-hour winds. The tornado goes through, it could hit this building will still be there, everything around it might be gone. If you've ever seen a picture of a safe room after a storm event. Next slide. And so this, some of my slides have things that are gonna pop up normally, but we're kind of, so anyway, all the openings to this have to be missile rated tested to withstand those 250-mile-per-hour winds. So all the doors, all the windows, any mechanical or passive ventilation has to withstand that. 5 square foot per person, 10 for wheelchair, 50 if they're bedridden, is how you just get at how big you need it. Next slide. You also have to include emergency communications equipment, safety supplies. You must have an emergency operations and maintenance plan related to that. How are you going to activate your safe room and such? Next slide.
And that has automatically unlocking doors. So when the weather radio sounds, the alarm for that, the doors unlock.
So these plans are not small plans. So this Polk County plan, how many pages we got in this? So close to 500.
Almost.
Yeah.
470.
Yeah.
These aren't small plans because they have to meet FEMA guidance. And it's like a 15-page checklist. Some county plans, like Portage counties, they're up over 800 pages. FEMA or Wisconsin Emergency Management has reviewed your draft plan. They said it meets the FEMA requirements, so we're good there. We're gonna I'll work with Lisa to prepare something a little more user-friendly, maybe do something web-based in the future as well. Next slide. But they are big plans. So I want to talk a little bit about your plan specifically. Next slide. So it is online. It's a Polk County plan, but it isn't a plan just for the government. So this isn't a to-do list for Lisa, and I just want to stress that. So we did involve the communities and other stakeholders throughout this process. Next slide. We started out with I worked with Lisa to secure grant funds to pay for this. So there's no cash out of pocket for the county. The local match is all in kind. I've been tracking all the cost share and we're real good there. We had 4 meetings with a steering committee. They participated through some homework. We did a town association unit meeting. The towns participated in a survey. We met with each city and village. Each city and village has their own sub-plan, 6 to 8 pages. Also invited all the schools, public educational institutions to participate. We got a handful as well as Northwood Tech. And then we met with other stakeholders or interviewed other stakeholders, county staff, fire EMS department or chiefs meeting, electric co-op and others. We put the draft online, invited public comment through the newspapers, et cetera, et cetera. Next slide. And so this was our steering committee members. I think this might be in the handout. Yep. Okay. And so it just shows that we had diverse representation. You know, we tried to get different perspectives. It was really great to have a veterinarian on your steering committee. First time I've seen that. So we were able to tie into that Federal Pets Act, which was really interesting. Next slide. Also, this I think is part of your handout as well. And this is all the folks I met with, you know, and tried to reach out to. Excel, the electric co-ops, different county staff, Red Cross, et cetera, et cetera. Next slide. And this plan, the data in it can help prioritize and guide where to focus future actions, where there may be some vulnerabilities. You may want to reach out to these communities because they might have an elevated flood risk. But it also shows where you might need to do more research down the road or suggest things for the X plan update. So I had a series of slides on or images on this, but the last one is just showing where are hazardous materials facilities located and where are some of those spills that occurred in the past or existing landfills and such, because we had a hazmat section of the plan. Next slide.
And actually, just one thing about that is that Chris gave me some amazing data. We got some from Brad and GIS, and some of it was from my data, and he put it all together and made these maps for us that we can use going forward for all sorts of things. And so that's, again, why we're going to try and work towards making this a little bit more electronic and digital. So people can go on here and interact with this and see what's in their neighborhood, see what the hazards are in their community, and make this usable for the public as well. Like he said, this isn't just a plan for government. This is a plan for the whole county.
And Lisa has, and the county has more detailed data of this,
Yeah.
but in the maps, in the plan itself, I use heat maps because for security reasons, we don't want to start putting certain dots on certain things and saying, well, these are target facilities for some bad actor. So we tend to do this in the plan instead of putting together a detailed list, but you have that.
We have the
list.
data, yeah.
Yeah. Next slide. And so the steering committee we worked with, they prioritized the different risks and looked at the different vulnerabilities. What they really told me is, you know, you see these natural hazards, the thunderstorms, tornadoes, high winds, they're pretty common. They're occurring quite often. However, many times it's those man-made hazards, those technological, intentional hazards, the active shooter, active threats, the pandemics, the terrorism or cybersecurity. Those are the things that folks tend to be more worried about that we're on the steering committee in terms of losses or impacts to the community. Next slide. We also are required to look at critical facilities or community lifelines. This is something in the next plan I think we could even beef up farther. But so what are the vulnerabilities to different groups of critical facilities or lifelines, such as say health services or water systems or transportation systems? So we have to look at, for each of the major hazards, what are the vulnerabilities to each of these lifelines? Next slide. So a few highlights. Your most frequently mentioned vulnerable population is seniors by your communities, by the stakeholders, especially also folks that might be on electric dependent medical devices that have during a power outage. I know over by Chile, over in Clark County, we did have one death during a tornado due to a fella that was on oxygen and lost his oxygen. So seniors, nursing homes, most vulnerable population that was most frequently mentioned. There was quite a bit of interest amongst your communities in more safe rooms, either that or hardening, so storm shelters, especially for mobile home parks, campgrounds. Growing stormwater, overland flooding concerns due to increasing heavy rainfall events. Many of us have seen that even in our own backyards. Given long-term weather patterns, the potential for more ice storms and large-scale power outages was frequently mentioned. You have improved since the last plan in terms of generator availability, at least amongst the many of the cities and villages, though there are still quite a few needs existing out there. Also, many of your local governments have done wonderful in improving their cybersecurity. I think there's a greater awareness of those threats, though those threats are getting more sophisticated, right? And so now the attention is more on, can they hack into our water system or our wastewater system? And so we had quite a bit of discussion during our meetings with cities and villages on that. In terms of active threats, most folks not too concerned in terms of their city halls and such. Some have done hardening, such as Glenwood City, their new facility up there. Most of the attention was more continuing with the joint training, especially between the schools, maybe places of worship and local police and or sheriff's department. And a major thing was continuing to promote emergency communication systems and get people signed up for the code red, continuing that information sharing, joint exercises, getting all those partners involved. That's more on the preparedness side, not a bright line between mitigation and preparedness, and just crisis communications in general. Next slide. And just so if you went to the back of the plan, you started to look at the mitigation strategies, there's quite a list of them. For each hazard, we had to have at least one mitigation strategy. And so a high priority was the community safe room. So we wrote these strategies general enough that you could pretty much do a community safe room anywhere in the county. But it did come up as being a high priority when we met with the steering committee and amongst the communities themselves. Then if you go into those sub plans for each city and village, they'll tell you whether or not they're interested in one or not. So I say safe room, that's a storm shelter. However, many communities are also encouraging, can we get generators in there so we can also have that facility also serve as a Red Cross shelter or a heating cooling shelter, should it be needed and the power goes out. Next slide. Then we had also a list of preparedness strategies, things that aren't those mitigation, but there are more for instance, Lisa to integrate into her integrated preparedness plan. And the committee also prioritized those things. And so we don't have to get as detailed with that preparedness stuff because this is truly still a mitigation plan from check the boxes on FEMA's list. Next slide. And then each city and village that participated, we had them all participate, which was great. Hopefully they'll all adopt. And then the schools and tech colleges that did participate will have their own sub-plan. They range from 6 to 8 pages, talking about their capacity, talking about their risks, and there's even a map, and then there's different strategies for each, and they're customized to each. So it is truly their plan. I write the resolution for the board in a manner that recognizes they can change their own sub-plan without having to go back through the board should they want to change theirs, and vice versa. If you make a change to the county level strategies, we don't need to have each city and village modify their, or readopt the plan as well. Next slide. So anything I didn't cover?
No, and not to put you too much on the spot, but recently somebody just asked me, how do solar panels play into a plan like this? And have you seen any of the ones that are on the docket right now talking about solar panels as a risk or something to mitigate?
Oh, as something to mitigate. I've
Well,
seen
in terms
micro.
of fires or disasters surrounding solar farms.
I've not seen it as a threat included in any county plans. Eau Claire County was toying with a strategy regarding solar as a microgrid mitigation action to help in case there's a power outage. But as far as threats,
In terms of fires or
Yeah.
tornado debris, I just didn't know it had come up and it was
hasn't.
like, maybe in the future plan that we could find out that that's a concern that we might need to look into if it's played out where it's caused problems in other counties.
so, great
Okay.
thought. That's first I've heard.
Chris, thanks for all the information and the update. I just want to, I think probably, I've been on the representative for emergency management for, I don't know, a long time, and we're just extremely fortunate. Lisa came into Polk County with a whole lot of experience, and she happened to buy a place on the old Raymond Snyder place down on Paulson Lake, so I was her closest neighbor, and we got her working for Polk County, and because I remember under Fabrini, now we meet 4 times a year quarterly, and I remember when under Fabrini and a few of them, well, we'd get a call maybe once a year to have some kind of meeting, but she's so well organized and tell her, I'm the representative from the county, but tell us the structure of the committee a little bit more of that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, because of federal legislation that we have hazardous chemicals in our county, we're required to have a committee of to oversee the planning for specifically those hazard plans for chemicals, specifically the extremely hazardous chemicals. So that committee meets and reviews the plans for, right now, we actually have 2 more. So we've got 11 facilities with hazardous materials in Polk County. And so we write up the plans working with those facilities. And over the last few years, what we've been doing is actually going and taking those committee members and inviting them to go on tours of these facilities to actually see where the chemicals are and see how they're in use. And then we write those plans, and then those inform us as the county and the community what those hazards are and plan ahead for them. So if there were a chemical release, but then we also use that committee as a sounding board for things about this plan and the county's integrated preparedness plan. So that covers all of our strategies to help with preparedness. So that includes things like active shooter, continuity of government, and things of that nature where we work as a whole county entity. And I take full advantage of the hazmat committee to do that.
Anybody that sells batteries like
Walmart.
Walmart or anybody, they have to report to give a report to Lisa. You offer trainings, I think all the fire departments on hazardous stuff and
Yep.
the stuff that they have to have for materials and that. They just do a world of things that we aren't even conscious of. If somebody has a overflow at a gas station or a diesel out on a farm or anything, that's all got to be reported to all part of the system, which people don't have,
Yeah.
a lot of things under that heading. And you guys have been totally instrumental in our emergency vehicle and a lot of people from Donnie Burrows and that, getting it updated as to the needs of our county and.
Yeah, we cover all aspects of emergency preparedness, planning, response, and recovery. And most recently, working on the emergency command post, trying to get that prepared. We've actually gone out for bid and changed our mass notification software from Code Red to Everbridge so that we have a more comprehensive and customizable system. And we went from Code Red, who was very static and didn't want to upgrade their system, to Everbridge, who already has in their system 33,000 contacts for Polk County. So we have reach beyond, way beyond what Code Red ever had for almost the same price. And that gives us those people, they've gone out and researched their phone numbers and their emails for us so that if we have an emergency message to send out, we can do that. And before we had almost nobody registered for our system. So we know now that it should be an opt-out system rather than an opt-in. So we've switched from sign up if you feel like it to, hey, we got ya. And if you really don't want to hear from us, let us know and we'll take your name off the list. So that's been a really great thing that we've been working on recently.
If there's ever a tornado or any kind of disaster in the county, you can know that the emergency management will be right there and they'll be the hub in organizing things, and we're in great hands.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Lisa. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks so much, Chris, for all your hard work on this project. It's incredible. I've seen other counties' plans and that haven't been worked on by Chris, and I think ours really stands out. So I appreciate what you've done now that I know what the options are.
Our quarterly meetings are over in the
Justice Center.
Justice Center and community room over there.
Yep, and we'll be having one fairly soon. I'll be reaching out to schedule that with you.
Yep, thank you. So any questions as our committee? You need a resolution to send to the county board, correct?
Correct.
Make a motion that we forward resolution 9/25 to the full county board for adoption
With the committee approval?
with committee approval.
Thank you. Motion made, call for a second.
Second.
Second by Doug Rowdy. Any discussion? Any other questions from anybody? Hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Good job.
Good job, you guys. Big part of the county government. 17, review and update 2025 work plan. Dr. Mo?
Yes, just a note, Steve Warndall can hear everything that's going on. He just can't interject with his phone right now, so.
Yeah.
But one thing I did talk to Supervisor Warndall on was the May 6th meeting, adding to the work plan, that meeting be held at the recycling center. And then with whichever the committee approves, we could have a half-hour tour of the project prior to the meeting and then start the meeting at 2:00. That would go with the committee.
And the meeting will be open to the public, so our next May meeting is scheduled for the
May 6th.
6th at the recycling center at 2:00, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
And then a half hour before, we can have a tour if you wanted beforehand. So you can see what the project commenced of.
And you will, as the acting administrator, you will see that there's coffee and cookies there.
Yeah, right in the
I will
recycling.
have a cup of coffee. and
Come on, Mo.
We'll make sure there's coffee and cookies there.
Okay, we got that.
Got that right?
Number 18, identify subject matter for the next meeting. Anybody got anything on the agenda? Otherwise, pretty much standard as usual. I think we can adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Rowdy. All in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thanks for the attendance, everybody.